Hey everybody out there, how you doing in YouTube land? Steve here again. Um, I know I haven't posted a video in a day or so, but this is one that I actually had to think about a little bit before I made. I've been saying I was going to do a video about pain and what people go through when they have arthritis leading up into the surgery. Well, it's not just about the physical pain. It's about the other kinds of pain that you endure as well. The pain that you're suffering up here and in here. Because I think I outlined it pretty well, how the physical pain progresses till you get to the point where, it's unbearable, which is why I ended up getting a nice new metal knee. And I can go through at the airport metal detectors. But there's also another aspect to that pain. It's the mental, the emotional, even the spiritual toll that it takes on you. So, when you first get your arthritis diagnosis, you know, you're in a little bit of pain, and you're taking Tylenol arthritis, you're taking over-the-counter stuff for it. You're not really hurting that bad. It doesn't play on you. But then when you get into that stretch where you've hit that point where you know you need to have a knee, a hip, a shoulder, elbow replacement, whatever it may be, you're talking about pain that's physical pain that's constant and 24/7, 365. Now, when you got to deal with that, that's a whole other ball game. That's when things wear on you here and here. It impacts every aspect of your life, your relationships with the people you care about, with your relatives, your coworkers, your significant others. Believe me, I know this. And I guess that's probably the best place to start. When you go through this, and you're always hurting, you're at that level where okay, you need the knee replacement or hip, whatever. You're at that level of pain where you can't tolerate it. Now, true, you've gotten used to being in pain all the time because you've gotten used to being in pain because over the years your disease has progressed and gone up, 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 up in the pain, in your pain factor. But you're always able to tolerate that pain somehow. You've found a way mentally to compartmentalize it, if you will, and tolerate it. But then you get to that certain level of pain where you're at when you need that replacement, where you need that surgery to get a prosthetic joint, where you can no longer handle that pain. Because at least before, a couple of years before that, you weren't in pain every single day of your life. You had pain-free days. You had days where you could go out, where you could laugh, smile, do things. But when you're at that point where your ability has gone from up here to down, that's the only thing that it does, is you're decreasing your ability to do things. Your recreational activities, if you have a physical job, you've seen your ability at work decrease. It gets to the point where your couch is your best friend. And you start feeling cut off from the world. Now, I'll speak about the isolation effect in a little bit, but just the physical pain, being in that all the time, that wears on you. And you start developing this mindset of you don't even want to wake up in the mornings. It decreases your ability to tolerate other people. Your friends may tell a joke, and then you'll snap on them like that because you've been in pain constant, say, for 2 years. Somebody tells a joke, somebody tries ribbing you a little bit, busting your balls, and you just fucking snap on them like that. That's what it does to you. It wears down your ability to tolerate things. You can't take a joke, and you start looking at two things happen. First, you know what you're going through, and you don't want the people in your life to see you go through that. You don't want your loved ones to see you enduring that. You think, okay, I got to spare these people from seeing me in this situation. I don't want them seeing they knew what I was like before. That person that was active, that was able to do things. I don't want them to see what kind of a broken ass wreck of an individual I've become. I want to spare them that pain, that emotional trauma. Because I know when I see my friends, whenever I go to their house to play cards or whatever, if they're having a potluck dinner or something, or just to get together for a barbecue, I see the looks on their face when they see me hobbling my ass into the yard or in through that front door. It's hard to disguise those looks, guys. But the first thing you do is you want to spare people in your life that mean anything to you having to watch you go through it. So you will push them away. You don't want to alienate them, but you do. You push them away. And you do it because you think you're sparing them. And the only thing that ends up doing is it ends up alienating those people. You might think that you're doing something to help them get through it, but you're not. So you got to remember, when you're going through it, don't push people away. Don't try to spare them. They need to see what you're going through. There's a lot of people, you've heard the term going nose blind to smells. Well, they've kind of gone nose blind to what you're going through because it's been constant every day, all the time. People say, hey, how you doing? You can't glue on that fake fucking smile and say, I'm doing great. No. And from personal experience, I can tell you right now is you want to tell them, take a ball peen hammer and smash yourself in the kneecap and see how good you feel. That's the answer you want to give them. Or the old Bill Cosby, how much does it hurt? Take your bottom lip, pull it over your head, and swallow. That's what you want to tell people. Most times you don't. Every once in a while it will slip out. But, it plays on you. So you want to spare the people in your life that mean anything to you from seeing you go through this. So you push them away. You get testy with them. And then the other people in your life, you just really don't have patience or tolerance for anything. It wears down your nerves to the point where, tolerating other people's bullshit, and we all have bullshit. Everybody, every damn one of us has bullshit that we give off. We just don't have the patience or the tolerance for it anymore, because the only thing you're concerned about is how much pain you're in. It messes with your head. And the people that you don't give a shit about anyways, you plain and simple will get to the point where you tell them, go fuck yourself, don't even talk to me. I know. I did that many times. There's a few people that I work with that even if I wasn't hurting, I would have very little tolerance for their bullshit and their games. So, they probably get told that anyways, but I have so very little tolerance for people right now when they want to start shit. That the go fuck yourself monster comes out real easy. So it's that kind of a thing. You're trying to push away the people that you care about so that they don't have to see you going through it. And then you end up isolating yourself. When you isolate yourself, then it's 10 times worse So then you start to feel like, oh fuck, nobody cares. Well, the fact is, people do care. It's just like me. You were a dumbass and you pushed them away because you wanted to spare them. Or, your coworkers or other people in your life that may be acquaintances, they just, they get so used to you being in pain all the time that they forget that, oh, there's a reason behind it, and they just think that you're complaining. Well, I would like to say you have to excuse them, but you also have to remind them there's a reason why you're going through why you act the way you do. It's not an excuse for you to act even like a bigger shithead, but at least give them at least give them some insight into why you are not happy. I had somebody say, "How come somebody at work? You're never happy anymore?" And they said this to me about 2-3 months ago, and I said, "Come here." I put my hand on his shoulder. I said, "If I took a pair of vice grips, hooked them onto your nuts as tight as I could, and left them there, and jammed them so that you couldn't get them off, and you had to go through 5 years of this shit, that pain, how happy would you be?" Now, could I have handled that a little better? Yeah, I could have, but they got the message that you're not going through a picnic every day of your life. Even when you're not on your feet all day long, you're still hurt because you're at that point where there's no more treatment that's going to make your knee feel better. You're at that point where there's no more stopgap measures that can help alleviate the symptoms. You just need that damn thing fixed and replaced. It's like driving on bald tires. Sooner or later, shit's going to happen. But I hope that gives you an idea. You're at that pain level where you're at maximum levels for so long that it just wears you down psychologically and mentally and emotionally. That you may have a friend at work that you bust balls with, that you rib with a little bit, and you'll find that you can't do that anymore because it's hard to do that when you're focused on what you're doing, just trying to get through a day. Even the most innocent joke will come across to you as something offensive or stupid or whatever, and you just won't have the tolerance for it. So, and that's one thing people go through. And you get really short with people real quick because the pain has just worn down your tolerance for everything. Your friends, your family, whatever. It gets to the point where at first you're pushing them away because you don't want them to see you go through this, and then it turns into you push people away because you don't want to deal with people. But then the isolation just makes you that much worse. You got to remember, don't isolate yourself. I made the mistake. Trust me, I know. And after, I know I'm only 2 weeks out of the surgery, but, I can see back and I realize I made these mistakes. I made this mistake of pushing people away. And to my friends, my family, the ones that I pushed away that I shouldn't, I'm going to say I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done that. Now, that also leads into, if you're on the outside looking in, you're watching your loved one, you're watching your friend, you're watching your spouse, significant other go through this. You can't go nose blind to the fact that they're hurting. You've got to constantly remind yourself that the person you care about, they're still in there. That person that you like, that you think is a funny motherfucker, they're still in there. That person you like to go joke with, that you like to go fishing with, or whatever, they're still in there. They're trapped in that. That's sort of like a prison of pain. Except the pain, the physical pain, causes other forms of pain that plays on their mind. You got to remember, don't let them push you away. As much as they push you away to try to spare you, you got to push back. But you also got to be understanding. It doesn't excuse people for being an asshole. I know it's not an excuse for when I was being an asshole. And like I said, I'm sorry, everybody. I was being an asshole. I truly am sorry. There is no excuse for it. It happened. I shouldn't have let it happen. I probably should have gone to see a therapist. And that's my advice to anybody else who's going through this. Since it's going to take you years to get that knee, hip, shoulder replacement, whatever, when you start getting to that point where you're just irritable all the damn time, get your ass to a therapist. Don't make my mistakes. Because you may have a great support system around. You may have people who don't want you to push them away, who won't let you. But in the same token, you need to talk to somebody who's not directly involved with you all the time. You need to open up and get it out. I know, tough guys, we don't discuss our feelings, men. But if you don't tell somebody how it's impacting you up here and get some coping strategies, things can always be worse. Much, much worse. You've got to realize that. I mean, I got to the point where I told my doctor, the only reason I got the surgery done was I told the doctor straight up and down, you either do this surgery or you kill me. Because either way, if you don't do the surgery, then I'm going to end up on disability, and I'm going to end up on the streets hooked on drugs, because that's the government's way of dealing with people, is they say, give them OxyContin, give them Percocets, give them morphine, drug them up, get them stoned and stupid, and keep them that way, so that we don't have to deal with the problem. Yeah, I know, great system, right? Not really, and that's another thing that plays on you too. When you know that that's what you're facing, if you're, I live in Canada, in Ontario, province of Ontario, so that's the healthcare system we have. We don't have a private care option, and if you're dealing with that, you're dealing with government healthcare. It doesn't matter what country you're in. That's pretty much what you're dealing with. You're going to be stuck dealing with government officials that would rather rubber stamp no than yes, and you have to keep fighting. I've had motivation the whole time, because to me, I got low. I was ready to take my shotgun and blow my goddamn leg off. That's not really something that I like to admit openly, but that's the point where I got to. I saw myself as just being left out in the cold, that the government didn't give a shit, because they don't care. No government gives a shit. I'll let you in right now. Doesn't matter what party is in power, none of them give a shit. Because the only thing they want from you is your tax dollars. That's it. So that's what I got to say about government. But, you're feeling abandoned by the healthcare system because you're dealing with bureaucrats that don't want to help you. They don't want to deal with the problem. They want you to go away, be forgotten about. And you have to be your own advocate a lot of the times. And yeah, I know it plays on your head. You keep hearing no, 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 no. Like Christ, I went through more than a couple surgeons before I finally found Dr. Piper and got told he'd be willing to do something. But you just have to. That's that one point where you have to stay mentally strong. You have to stay emotionally strong. You have to gut that one out. And you need your support mechanism. You need your friends. You need your family for that. Don't isolate yourself, because if you isolate yourself from those people, and I know I did it, and I'm sorry to people who have done it too. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done it. But that's one of the pitfalls of going through this, is that you do isolate yourself. And you get to that point where you just feel that there's nothing out there for you. That there's nobody out there for you, that you are all alone. Even though you probably did it to yourself like I did. So, that's one thing to watch out for. And people on the outside looking in, remember, don't go nose blind to it. I'm not saying, I know it's impossible to say don't take it personal. It's human nature. You're going to eventually, after years of going through this, eventually it's going to wear on your nerves too. And you're either going to think, oh, he's being an asshole, being a douchebag, I don't want to talk to him today. I can understand that. I can see that. But the other thing too is, if somebody you care about, maybe that's when you need to tell them you need to see a therapist. Get shit out of your system. Because a lot of the times people will vent off about what they're going through and about the way it makes them feel going through this whole process to a stranger more than they will their friends, because you're trying to spare your friends the agony of it, but in doing so, then you isolate yourself. It doesn't work. I know, I've tried it. It just makes everything 10 times worse. So, and you gotta remember too, when they're acting like assholes, you gotta remember too, this person's been through years and years and years of pain. They've been through years of being told no. They've been through years of being told things like, oh, you may not be old enough, or, oh, I don't want to touch you till you're 85. Some doctors are like that. They don't want to touch you till you're too old and decrepit to get any use out of it. And for the people who are watching your friends go through that, or your loved ones, you got to remember that that's what they're going through. So don't be surprised when you ask them how they're doing and they say, they feel like hammered shit, or they just wish that they could drop off the face of the planet, things like that. As going through it, I could see how people get to that real low point where they contemplate suicide. I've felt like laying down on the train tracks and just letting the fucking train take my leg off. I've had that thought where, I got a shotgun in the closet there, in the lockbox. I was cleaning my shotgun and oops, I forgot to clear it, and it blew my leg off. Well, as illogical and as irrational and stupid as that idea sounds to anybody who might watch this, you got to remember, from the perspective of the person going through that, that's not so illogical anymore, because illogical to that person is they're being told, no, you're going to have to keep suffering for decades before anybody will help you from the medical community. So then you start getting into the, you're in so much pain that you're getting desperate. Desperate people do stupid things. Just myself, I have a problem with self-mutilation or suicide, so it goes against my own personal code. It's dusty and dry today, folks. Very dusty, very dry today. But yeah, you get to that point of you're almost at a desperation. And for people who are seeing your loved one go through this, you got to remember that they're getting desperate when they get to that point where they're going through it for a few years, where they're at that point where they know they need a knee replacement because there's no more, you know, holdovers that they can do. You've done your cortisone injections, you know, you've you're on pills that would kill a fucking horse. You know, you're going through this stuff for years. That person starts looking at desperate measures to control the pain or to get rid of this pain, where they're thinking that, oh, if I didn't have this leg anymore, or whatever, so if it's an arm or a leg, if that leg was all of a sudden just, oops, chopped off, walking around with a prosthetic leg would be more beneficial. Got to remember, that person's not looking at things logically anymore. They're desperate for pain relief. They're desperate because they're tired of being miserable all the time. The best thing you can do for them is just be there for them. They may need to vent to you. And yeah, you're going to get tired of hearing it, but sometimes, man, been without pain meds myself for quite a while now. Trying to see how long I can last without them. So I'm actually doing pretty good. So it's really just starting to get uncomfortable now. It's been 6 hours, so that's a hell of a lot better than it was. When I first had the surgery, it was like in the hospital every 4 hours, make sure you're hitting that button. But now I'm going 4 hours between Tylenol 3s. Or 6 hours, I should say, between Tylenol 3s. That's pretty good. I'm actually quite pleased with that. Yeah, I know, I'm smiling. Yeah. You see this? That's also with arthritis medications. That's a side effect of the arthritis medications. You start losing your hair, and you start losing your teeth. Some of the medications for arthritis, for rheumatoid arthritis, for psoriatic arthritis, they're not good for your teeth. I've lost about 4 teeth in the last 6 years. And since I've been on these medications now for a decade. It's not fun. But like I said, and I've noticed now it's only been like I said before, it's been 2 weeks since the surgery. And I noticed how I treated people. I noticed that I pushed people away. I noticed that I can look back and see, I've started being able to look back and see how much tolerance for things that I don't have anymore. Well, I'm not going to say I don't have any more, because the better my mood gets, the more tolerance I have, and then the better things start looking overall. By the time I had the surgery, it was like, what's the point of anything, because nothing matters. Up until I got that, yeah, you're going to get that surgery, until I got told yes. It was people were telling me you need to get a new job, and yeah, I do need to get a new job. But I was at that point of nothing matters, nothing's going to change. I don't get this unless I get okayed for the surgery. You know, my life doesn't matter anymore. That's the kind of mindset you get into, and it sucks. And for the people who are watching their loved ones and friends and family go through this, it sucks for you too. And I can't apologize enough to the people in my life who have pushed away. But you got to remember, it eats at you emotionally and mentally, because you yourself, you got to remember, people who are going through this, if they were once active, they've watched the decline of their abilities to be active. Like my own case in point, I went to the gym every day. I liked to cycle. I like to go camping. I like to go fishing. I like to go to the range. I went to the range 3 times last season in the summer. No, 4 times, sorry. I went 4 times. When I would like to go to the range once a week and just target shoot. By the way, that's an expensive hobby, so that's the other thing too. When you're going through this, not only do you have the mental burden of and hardship of you're going through this, so the pain is causing you all this mental anguish, you also have the added stressor of, if you have a job like mine where if you physically can't, it affects your job physically. It actually affects your job and your ability to earn income, because you're missing days of work due to the fact that you can't walk. You know, if you can't do your job and you're forced to call in sick twice a week, 3 times a week, like I should have, if I didn't have this problem, I would earn $42,000 a year. But because I missed so much work due to this, I made $34,000 last year. That also plays on you up here. So you got to remember that your friends, your family, loved ones, they're dealing with the pain. They're dealing with doctors. They're dealing with the bureaucrats that are just paid, trained monkeys to rubber stamp no. You gotta remember, and they're pushing you away because they think they're saving you from watching them go through this. You gotta fight back against that and tell them you're there for them. Saving grace, Jody, Steve, Russ, all the gang there. Thank you guys. My friend Dave and Jen. I know we don't get together as much as we can, but hey, that's called we're adulting. We still talk when we can. And I know I've tried like hell to push all you guys all the way. And, I regret it. I know I've damaged relationships. And I've made stupid choices as a result of what I've been going through. That's the other thing you got to remember is people aren't thinking straight when they're going through this. When they're that much pain for that long period of time, they tend to make bad decisions. Whether it's decisions regarding getting into relationships or concerning their existing relationships, they make piss poor decisions. Whether it's spending, I shouldn't have bought that car last year. No, I should have spent $5,000, bought an old beater pickup truck, and just gone with that. Now, I spent, altogether, taxes and everything and fees. My car is like $28,000 after all the taxes and shit and the interest on the loan. So, I put myself that far in debt. And I wasn't even looking at the fact that, I knew my income was going to decline further and further and further, because the more this disease progressed, the more work I was going to miss. So I did it to myself. I made a bad decision. It's costing me now. So it's going to put me into bankruptcy. Is there anything I can do about that at this point? No. But lesson learned. and I won't repeat that mistake again. So, you know, just to sum it all up, for people who are going through it, don't push people away. I hope I've done a good job of describing the mindset folks get into, because you get to that point of it's desperation where everything you're trying to do to relieve yourself of the pain, you get to that point where you just don't want to deal with anybody before you get your surgery. So it's hard to describe. You'd rather just push everybody away and be alone, but then that's no good for you either. So, I hope I've done a good job of conveying how it plays on the person who's going through this. And I can't pretend to know how it feels to be on the other side of this. So I know from my experience, I don't want to hear anybody say, "Oh, I know what it's like. Oh, I understand. You're hurt." You don't want to hear that. That's the last thing you want to hear, to be quite honest. But the other side of the coin is, now that I'm on the other side of this operation, I also don't have any clue how the people in my life have been affected by this. I really don't. The Love Boat. Like I said, it's dusty. But, you might be going through this pain. You might be going through this whole process of surgery and everything. But at the same token, that the people in your life, most of them probably don't know what you're going through. You don't know what they're going through watching you. They have to watch you decline. They have to watch you slide into this whole black hole of an abyss of hurt. It's not just the physical pain, it's the emotional pain that you're feeling, it's the mental pain that you're feeling, it's the spiritual pain. This will just suck the soul out of you. You can't let that happen. So my final word of advice is, when you start getting to that point where you're pushing everybody away, or even before you get to that point, or you even start contemplating pushing people away, that's when you need to go get a therapist and start talking to somebody. Develop coping strategies. I know they're not going to all work, but some help is better than none. And for the people who are watching your loved ones go through this, same advice. Because you don't want to get to the point where you figure, fuck it, it's easier to give up and abandon them than it is to gut it out and see things through. Because then nobody wins. It's not a competition anyways, but everybody loses. Because then when that person you care about actually gets their surgery, you're not going to get to see them come back to the person they were before all of it started. You're not going to get to see them come back to being in their good mood self. It's a shitty process. But once it's complete, things are better. I'm learning that. And, I'm just going to close out by saying, if what I have said today is informative and it helps you, it gives you some insight into the mindset and to the emotional set that people end up in, because people end up in a pretty bad funk when they're going through this stuff. I mean, yeah, if you're loaded, filthy, stinking rich, it's a lot easier to go through this than somebody who's working class. You can buy yourself help. Whereas if you're, say, in my position, you got to figure it all out for yourself. How you're gonna live, how you're gonna get by day to day, and it's not easy. But that's topic maybe for another video. I don't know. I can't speak for people who are loaded, but they're going to undergo a lot of the same mental stresses and emotional stresses that somebody who's poor is, because they're going to have that same pain all the time, regardless of how good their doctor is. It's just the way it works, because they got to go through the same system in Ontario that everybody else does, and that system is blind. It don't give a shit as to your income level. It doesn't give a damn about who you know. If you're a politician, yeah, sure, fine, you get bumped to the front of the line, but I don't even need to comment on that, do I? No. Oh boy. So, like I said, hopefully I've given you an insight into the mindset, the emotional set of people who are going through this, and for the people who are watching your loved ones go through this. The only advice I got is just hang in there. You'll get them back eventually. Help them be strong, and you'll get them back. Just show them that, hey, you're there for them. Okay? So, if you liked what you've heard, you found it informative, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. That way this video and the video series doesn't get buried by the YouTube algorithms. I know I've got 1 subscriber right now, folks, and I know a lot of my friends, some of my friends are watching these. And if you think these videos are helpful at all, share them. Share them on Facebook. Share them on your Twitter account, whatever. Share them, subscribe to it, and hit the like button. That way YouTube doesn't bury this with the algorithm, and it hopefully gives somebody else some insight into what's going on. I know this was a really long-winded video, and for those who've made it through the whole thing, I say thank you. And until next time, everybody, take care. All right? See you next time.